Hey, you random stranger. It's been a while. How you been going? We have more Houseki no Kuni today, and the last chapter ended with a whopper of a cliffhanger, so I'm pretty keen to get going. But as per usual, we're gonna go through a couple of thoughts first, including some things that you guys raised, which have shifted how I'm seeing these latest developments. Also, I realized this will be my first reaction after reaching 1,000 subs, and so it's very fitting that it's going to be a Hoseki no Kuni one. Some of you have been here since the very first crappy video that I posted for the first episode of the Hoseki no Kuni anime, and you had to deal with all my awkwardness of not knowing how to look into a camera. I mean, I'm still a bit awkward, but hopefully a little bit better. And the fact that you are still here and we're still going through the manga together is crazy to me. And we've dived into so many different topics and some mind-bending conversations, as you tend to when you're dealing with immortal, inclusion-filled gems. And for that, I thank you and I'm very grateful. Beyond volume 11, which is what we're starting today, there are chapters that have been released just with no official English translation yet. And so what I'm going to have to do is to go to the fan translations after this volume. And then after that, I join the illustrious ranks of those of you who have been suffering this endless winter of Ishikawa's hiatus. All right, okay, let's discuss what got thrown at us last time. Let's start with the fact that Cairngorm, or as we say now, Princess, is a budding scientist, all thanks to Barbata, who is quickly becoming my favorite Lunarian, and we've known him for less than like a volume. I love that he agreed to become Cairngorm's science teacher based solely on Ichmia bribing him with permission to conduct scientific experiments on the, exploration of new forms of flour and pasta. The guy has a passion for the things that truly matter, and he's also, we see, a real softie. After the 220-year time jump, he ends up actually academically adopting the other moon gems as well, almost as grad students, and is genuinely concerned when they start proposing experiments involving their own inclusions, which we'll talk more about later. For now, I just want to dwell on how Cairngorm's initial purpose of learning how to get into nothingness so that Ichmia doesn't get lonely makes no sense, for the simple fact that when you become nothing, there will be no loneliness, there's no happiness, there's no sadness, there's nothing. Like, that's the entire point. If anything, it's really Cairngorm expressing how attached they are to Ichmia and how depressing it would be to get left behind. And it's interesting that Ichmia, when Cairngorm goes on about how, they're doing it all for him, he doesn't actually correct them. Later, though, when Sensei has been activated by Phos for the first time and it looks like he's actually going to pray for the Lunarians, Ichmia sends for Cairngorm and saying he has something very important to tell them. And I think he was going to break to Princess that, well, I'm sorry, but there's no way for you to come with us, and I won't actually be anything or feel anything after this. Plus a lot of other mushy things that partners always say when they are faced with eternal separation. Unfortunately, we'll never really know what he was going to say because the prayer doesn't end up happening. I think later, though, especially after that huge time jump, Cairngorm does realize the naivety of becoming nothing to keep Ichmia company, and there's actually a subtle shift in their thinking. So it's still about going where Ichmia is going, but there's an additional element of getting rid of their heavy body that is comparatively limited. Again, something we'll talk about later when we get to that scene where all the moon gems are seriously trying to, considering trying to become Lunarians. Since we are on the topic of Cairngorm and Ichmia, I believe the relationship has grown on me. now that they've had time, like hundreds of years even, to learn about each other and develop out their relationship, it seems to be a pretty healthy, open, communicative kind of relationship. They set aside time for each other every day and they take care of each other, and they can sort of sometimes read each other's minds, and they remember things like their 1000th day anniversary. So, does this wholesomeness erase the grossness of how their relationship started? No, not really, but it's good to see that they've injected quite a bit of maturity into their relationship, and it's on a much more even footing now, I feel. Also, I can't help but admire how Cairngorm supports Ikmia's job as a very public leader, and vice versa, like how Ikmia is very supportive of Cairngorm's endeavors and, potential to become a scientist. So, yeah, I think I'm okay with it now. The other hugely important dialogue that happened in the last few chapters happens between Phos and Ikmia, just as Phos, was preparing to take a one-way trip back to Earth to ask Sensei to pray. There's a lot of handing over of business. One is the project of reconstructing the stolen gems, and Ikmia informs Phos that they're going to wait for the Admirabilis with the gem sand shells to die out naturally so that they can harvest the gem bits, and then they'll instigate this new breeding program where they'll raise the Admirabilis in the ocean so that they become smaller and then they won't have to grow shells, which from Phos's perspective is great. They don't have to think about the possibility of committing mass genocide. They don't have to make that awful, gross moral choice. And actually, Craig Starbird made two great points about this. One, that the only reason Phos felt rushed over needing to restore the gems as quickly as possible, to the point of entertaining the thought of genocide, is because they needed to placate the other gems, especially Alex, Benito, and Yellow, who were incredibly upset at finding out that the moon was actually covered in gem particles. But now that Alex and Benito are adapting well to the moon, and Yellow is way past the point of recovery, there's no need for that urgency anymore. And then Craig Starbird also wrote, "It's almost another example of Phos's own haste to try and resolve everything, leading to irreversible consequences. In this case, almost wiping out one of the three descendants of humanity." Interestingly, Ikmia himself prevents this by giving Phos a slower option, possibly to ingratiate Phos further by giving Phos a horrible choice they have to make, but then saving them before that choice becomes relevant. I am 100% in agreement that Ikmia would have thought all that through and used it to his advantage. He had that great quote later. The important thing isn't to win a single day's victory, but command the whole field. And he's been around for a while. He's very learned in the skills of manipulation. He's had to keep the labor unions and the masses in line by giving them what they think they want. So, yeah, that was an awesome observation that even this pre-packaged solution to the Admirabilis, can't even say it, Admirabilis problem was all part of Ikmi's grand plan. The losers here really are the Admirabilis, and even Phos recognizes that when they ask, well, have the Admirabilis agreed to this new breeding plan of yours? And Ikmia basically says, well, no, they've got scrambled eggs brains, and so they don't know what's happening, nor do they know that it's happening because of you. Expressed a lot more diplomatically than that, which launches us into Ikmia's version of how the Admirabilis actually ended up on the moon and why they devolved into these mindless sand-eating goobers. And I really, really loved this part, despite the awfulness of the story, because we get to do some critical sleuthing to figure out the veracity of Ikmia and Ventricosis' different retellings of the story. There are a few possibilities. I can't speak today, guys. There are a few possibilities. Ichmia could be lying. Ventricosis could have been raised on an inaccurate account from their ancestors, or the truth could, lie somewhere in the middle of those two. So here we go. The condensed version of Ichmia's account of history is that long, long ago, they went to the Admirabilis for help to create a human to operate Congo. I'm guessing they wanted to extract DNA from them in order to help them with their genome project of recreating a human. And interestingly, this very loosely matches Ventricosis's idea that the Lunarians were wandering around in a quest to reclaim flesh and bone in order to restore their former glory. So I guess she only really had half or a third of the story. The Lunarians are definitely trying to gather bits of humanity's other descendants in order to restore humanity, but it's really so that they can create a human they can use to then become nothing. And so the Admirabilis agrees to donate some bodies to the Lunarians. It says, yep, sure, we're starving because of the 6 collisions that ruined the earth and there's not enough food, so here, have our convicts. Afterwards, one of the worst famines ever happens, and here's where reconciling Ichmia and Ventricosis's versions of events becomes difficult. Although I think at the moment I'm slightly siding more with Ventricosis. So remember, V had said that the Admirabilis are naturally small when they're in their true form. Supposedly, the Lunarians captured them, then forcibly fattened them up on the sweet water and sand of the moon, turning them into mindless animals concerned only with hoovering up sand and algae. And that is important because according to Ventricosis, the Admirabilis only became like that after they were taken to the moon. Whereas Ichmia says in the last few chapters that their regression in intelligence and the cannibalism and the mindlessness started before they went to the moon. Also, they weren't captured. It was only when things got so bad in the ocean that the Admirabilis, led by King Convalaris, begged the Lunarians to be taken to the moon as refugees to live off of their synthetic food, i.e. the ground up gems. And by the way, VLAND in 1992 made a really interesting parallel between Ichmia's account of the Admirabilis' stagnant evolution and the cannibalizing of their own kids. So they compared it to the cannibalistic nature of modern unregulated capitalism, where perhaps we aren't physically cannibalizing our future generations, but by stripping all resources from the earth, the result is the same. And I thought that was a really interesting connection to draw. That, there are many paths to cannibalism, whether literal or figurative, and the Admirabilis got there largely as a result of a freak accident of 6 meteor hits, whereas it is entirely possible that as a human race, we could theoretically get to the same result by our own inability to solve, I guess, the tragedy of commons. That was an interesting thought that was thrown out there. So if we are to believe Ichmia, only 50 years or 2 generations of Admirabilis passed from when the Admirabilis supposedly begged to be taken to the moon to when Ventricosis took over as king. So the refugee evacuation took place when Phos was 250 years old, meaning 1 generation of Admirabilis is about 25 years, which also matches up to the 5 generations that separates Ventricosis from Variegatus. I think it's possible that it only took 2 generations for Ichmia's story, if true, to be completely twisted into what Ventricosis believed, but it is difficult to see how. Even if the Admirabilis didn't have written history and everything was passed down orally, it usually takes a lot more time for history to become so absolutely convoluted. Like for us, the equivalent would be how we understand events that happened like 100 to 200 years ago, if we're being generous. We know that Ventricosis managed to keep her sanity on the moon, and so we had to assume that there were previous generations of Admirabilis who also kept their sanity at least long enough to pass down to the next generation their version of what happened. There is the possibility that King Convalaris told lies to his descendants, maybe because of a real sense of shame that they had to stoop to begging the Lunarians to save them. And so Ichmia could be telling the truth about how the Admirabilis ended up on the moon, and while Ventricosis was just laboring under a completely fabricated version of history. However, Ichmia at any time could have corrected Ventricosis's wrong version of history. We know that V had negotiated with the Lunarians, and I'm assuming the negotiation would have taken place with Ichmia because, everything needs his permission, especially for like a mission like that. So she had negotiated with him to release her brother in exchange for luring a gem or Phos out to the ocean. And so the circumstances under which Ventricosis was dropped into the gems leads me to believe that Ichmia's representation of the Lunarians as wholesome saviors of a dying race isn't the whole story, and leaves out a lot of the terrible stuff that they did to secure their goal of becoming nothing. Like, remember, these are the same people that ground up live gems for the sake of making Sensei angry. So Ventricosis clearly believed that her people were being forcibly enslaved, and Ichmia used that belief to incentivize or blackmail Ventricosis into laying a trap for the gems. And it seems like what's very possible that he dangled the possibility of at least her brother being restored to his senses as a reward. Not something benevolent savior would do, and I don't think Ventricosis would have felt the need to make that kind of deal if she had thought that her people were free to go. So either the Admirabilis were captured from the start, or Ichmia was being truthful when he said that the Admirabilis went to the moon voluntarily, but somehow within the span of 2 generations they were being used as cattle for the Lunarians' own purposes and had completely lost their freedom. And I mean, there are clearly no ongoing projects to restore to the Admirabilis their lost sanity. So yeah, this idea that Ichmia possibly purposefully didn't correct Ventricosis's impression that her people had been captured because it suited his goal of using her to then lure in more gems feels suspiciously like what he did with Phos, and in a way sort of Cairngorm as well, like not correcting their inaccurate or incomplete interpretation of events, not until it was the right time to. And so say what you will about the morality of Ichmia's actions, but I can definitely respect his big brain capacity. It's also interesting to remember that Sensei considered the Admirabilis as another kind of Lustrous, while seeming to not accord the Lunarians that same kind of prestige or respect. By contrast, Ichmia obviously feels more affinity with the gems now. I mean, let's not forget, again, like he didn't hesitate to ground up gems in the past, and sees the Admirabilis as lower life forms. So yeah, there's an interesting disconnect there. When the other gems are sending Phos off, I noticed that Amethyst and Alex repeat Padpa's wise, the words of wisdom. Like, it was keep a cool head and tread carefully and don't do anything reckless. It is such a statement of the influence that Padpa had on all the gems, being the oldest and also the most respected and popular, which makes it doubly sad that they are still missing in action. But even more sad, of course, is when Phos is alone traveling inside the Lunarian transport, and they have this sudden memory of Sensei being kind to to their, I was going to say being kind to them, but it's really being kind to their original Phos body self. And they start crying. Uh, it's, I think it's the weight of all the trauma that they've been through and the conflict that's been created as a result of that. But also, I think Phos is getting hit with a total sense of loss at what they used to enjoy, which was a simple, almost parent-child relationship and trust with Sensei, a relationship that they will never recover given what they know about what Sensei really is and the role that he plays in either stopping or continuing this endless cycle for both the Lunarians and the gems. Well, actually, not both the Lunarians and the gems and the Admirabilis. Like, he is key to ending all the suffering. A slight patch of comedic relief when Phos lands on Earth is that Gamer Phos doesn't even realize that their transport has arrived and dissipated because they were raging over that Collect Your Lunarian Dog game. Another ironic quip when Phos puts up their arms and says, "Look, I'm unarmed." Obviously, the arms being the main weapons, and the other gems know that, which is why the arm holding the tablet gets sliced off by short-haired Bort with their new whip, which a few of you told me is likely made out of their own hair. So now not only does Bort have a fierce new look, but they have an equally fearsome weapon that is far stronger than their previous katana to go with it. We also see the Cinnabort partnership going really strong, which has to rub the situation into Phos's face even more, given how shocked and upset they were that Cinnabar, during that first failed landing on Earth, went and attacked Phos all out with their Mercury. So Phos asks to see Sensei and of course gets put into a cage immediately. But Phos does actually get a chance to ask Sensei to pray because he wants to see them, and Phos lays out the case for him, and it's pretty compelling. Phos says do it for not just the Lunarians, but for the Lustrous and the Admirabilis, the descendants of the humans you once loved. You can bring them happiness. And what's interesting is that all the other gems are standing around listening as Phos talks about all these things that they have no idea about. You can see the impact of that later when Yuke is talking to Jade about what happened and is starting to question, like, well, what did Phos actually mean? Could there be some truth in what they said? And in a huge confirmation that Phos has become significantly human themselves, Sensei is activated for the first time and starts to glow and pray. And then here, I want to highlight something cool that Iseno Alpha pointed out, which is that you see Phos's wooden cage disintegrate and then revert back to its natural form, like back to being like tree branches and petals. And they wrote, when Ikmia was explaining everything to Phos when they first got to the moon, he said that Sensei could destroy the body and deconstruct the soul. So I imagine the cage, being a living or organic structure, was destroyed due to this, which makes a lot of sense. And it's bizarre to think that had Sensei succeeded, the part of Phos that has become human, or at least developed a human soul, would also have evaporated or become nothing. The second time Phos asks Sensei to pray, you see them sort of start to shatter, almost like their soul is shedding off the bits of them that are inorganic and mineral based. You also have Phos pleading with Sensei the second time to please just pray for their sake because they are so tired. And you really get the sense that Phos has essentially become a human or human-like soul trapped in a gem's immortal body. But of course, Sensei fails, something's jammed even though he really wants to obey Phos. And when Phos starts to bleed out the gold alloy and reaches out for Sensei, the very protective gems let fly with the 8 katanas, and then Phos is just completely wrecked. What I love about the significance of the fact that Phos gets wrecked by exactly 8 katanas is that 8 is a pretty important number in Buddhism. The Dharma wheel, which represents the perfect practice of Buddhist of Buddha's teachings has 8 spokes. There's the Noble Eightfold Path, which refers to the 8 practices one has to master in order to achieve enlightenment and freedom from this endless cycle of birth and rebirth. So the 8 practices are the right view, right resolve, right speech, right conduct, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right samadhi, which is like a right state of consciousness. Also, a lot of Buddhist symbols are built around the number 8. So it's an added element of irony, I think, and Ishikawa definitely knew what she was going for. In the moment that Phos is arguably achieving enlightenment and being released from this tiring immortal life through Sensei's prayer, they are destroyed by this symbolic wink to that very enlightenment that they are seeking. The conversation that happens after Phos is ruined is also super illuminating. We have Rutil, who still has no F's to give and just wants to dump the slag into the ocean. Yuke seems genuinely distraught and just wants to play peacemaker or negotiator, like they want to try and put Phos's head back together to talk. But Bort will have none of that and reminds everyone that it was Phos's words which lured the others away to the moon. Still a very black and white understanding of why the others chose to leave, like very us and them kind of mindset. There's just no room for any nuanced sympathy or entertaining the idea that instead of betrayal, maybe the others just needed an out from this endless war. So Bort, still anti-Phos, always has been, always will be. The most interesting response for me was Cinnabar's, the diplomat. They carefully suggest this very pragmatic solution of splitting the pieces up and giving everyone a piece to hide. One, to buy them more time in case the Lunarians come to pick Phos up, and 2, to give everyone a chance to agree on something before any action is taken. Given Cinnabar's previous relationship with Phos, I have to wonder if they feel at all conflicted between the two sides. Added to that, their newfound partnership with Bort, who very obviously respects Cinnabar's intelligence and judgment. The solution Cinnabar comes up with is as neutral can be, and I see it as them striving to balance out all of the conflicting positions the gems have, even though I think Cinnabar's loyalty ultimately does lie with the Earth gems, particularly because it's like they found their place. Cinnabar has always been the one to provide an outside perspective because they've always been the outsider. So to see them now playing such a critical role in the decision-making structure of gem society is actually really satisfying. It's also an added bonus to see how embarrassed Cinnabar gets when the other gems praise them for coming up with such a good idea. And as for Congo, he of course goes along with the plan, but is already, I think, secretly planning on how to rescue Phos when the coast is clear. Back on the moon, after Congo powers down, Ikmia seems disappointed. Or is he? Because though he has this look that says, oh, we were so close, it's not a response of complete disappointment that you would expect from someone who's worked so long and hard for this one thing and who almost got it but was deprived at the very last moment. And he recovers pretty quickly, especially when Princess arrives and asks him, oh, what did you want to tell me? And then he pauses and then answers with, I'll be making curry for dinner tonight. And I think the major reason why Ikmia is relatively okay, unlike when Phos first arrives on the moon, he hasn't really moaned about how tired he is and how he just wants everything to end in a while. And why would he? Like, when he and the other moon gems and other Lunarians have basically built a pretty comfortable life together. We get that scene where all the gems are waiting for Ikmia to come home at his place, and if you look at that particular panel, it's a very lived in home. There's stuff everywhere. There's the huge wedding portrait on the wall. The gems are tossing around Lunarian dogs and they clearly come over all the time. Ikmia walks in with what looks like a bag of groceries. The gems all yell, "Welcome back!" And Barbata is there too in like a t-shirt, and it looks like he's just cracked open a can of beer. It is all very, very domestic, almost like they've become family. And because we get this domesticity straight after what almost happened with Sensei and Phos getting wrecked by the katanas, the contrast was incredibly stark. It used to be the gems that were family, and now it's this oddball mix of moon adjusted gems and key Lunarian figures seated around the dinner table, testing or tasting Princess's light curry. Alex is like spitting poetry about the food, and Barbata's impressed and tells them that they might have what it takes to be a chef. And if we just stop and think about where we are now, it is just incredible. And Harrix 300 had a great comment that talks about how interesting it is that the earth gems haven't really changed that much, even after everything that's happened, except Retail, of course. But all the gems who went to the moon have changed dramatically. So aside from the gems who got the short end of the stick, like Pudpa and Yellow, you have Amethyst 84, and they write, who hadn't really had a personality to themselves outside of the twin duo, now becoming so intellectual and a mature and independent person. Cairngorm is just Cairngorm. I mean, well, even they don't recognize themselves as Cairngorm anymore, really. Alex has completely lost their silly, geeky, playful nature and now is more collected, serious, and edgy. Probably due to being blindfolded for so long. Yeah, I hadn't actually thought about that, but you're right. Like, Alex is definitely more withdrawn into themselves and much more steady, which is interesting. Dia may look the same, but remember that time when Dia was thinking Phos turned into a snail? Yes, I do. Diamond wanted to help Phos so much they were running over the island with ventricosis trying to figure out what to do. And now they're having fun with everyone else on the moon, all pretty and shining, knowing that Phos has been destroyed by the Earth gems. Wow, no one cares about Phos anymore, huh? Ouch. Like that, yeah, that last observation that no one really cares about Phos anymore, it's harsh, but it is kind of true. When Ikmia tells the moon gems, well, the gems, the other gems, the Earth gems, thought that Phos's second attempt at asking Sensei was an attack, and so they all acted together to destroy Phos. Yeah, the moon gems kind of look a little bit upset, but actions speak louder than words. And so Ikmi had said he'd wait and see whether or not he'd collect Phos, and then he ends up not doing so at all. And more importantly, none of the gems clearly obviously demand it or even really want to do it in the 220 years that then go by. So effectively, their actions show that to them, Phos is a write off. Speaking of the time jump, we have to talk about Yellow's breakdown. The other gems, as Harrix 300 pointed out, are doing just fine, but Yellow has been kept in a padded, enclosed room for their own safety, and what's worse is suffering from delusions of being a Lunarian, and hence all the jumping off ledges and forgetting that they are Yellow Diamond. There is an interesting parallel between how Cairngorm forgets their original name and how Yellow forgets that they're yellow. With Cairngorm, and like credit to them, it looks like they genuinely care about Yellow, and like when they were attending to them right after another delusional episode. But Cairngorm forgetting that they are Cairngorm and not Princess was a clear choice. Whereas Amethyst's diagnosis of Yellow is that these delusions were born of the trauma of that first failed attack, with Padpa getting mercuried, and then the survivor's guilt that came with that. Depression set in, and the delusion of being Lunarian was a way of escape. Plus, there was no proper gem therapy back then. But 220 years of living with that guilt, seeing the other gems adapt so well, has just made Yellow's depression worse. As does every time they realize that they're not actually a Lunarian, that they're still a gem. To the point where Amethyst says there's really no hope for Yellow. And to think that this is where Yellow has ended up is a real tragedy. Remember, their original reason for leaving Earth was to say sorry to the gem partners that they'd lost, and also to escape the meaninglessness of a perpetual war that they've forgotten why they're fighting. So here the irony is doubled, because not only has Yellow forgotten the purpose of what they're doing, they've now also forgotten the core of who they are. Which leads us to the discussion that the Moon Gems have about wanting to become Lunarians. Even just saying that sentence causes me to do a double take. We say, Yellow is suffering under the delusion of being Lunarian, but the other gems are making rational decisions to take steps towards actually becoming one. They cite all of the disadvantages that having a gem body places on them, including being unable to, apparate and disapparate whenever and wherever they want. So the next step is, how do the gems extract their souls from their bodies while ensuring that they keep all of the same memories they currently have? And we shall see. I'm sure that Amethyst is gonna come up with something. Going off of what they learned about gem memories from the Gem Reconstruction Project, which ironically is only being revived after 220 years because of this new goal of becoming Lunarians, I think they might create some kind of software that allows them to extract their inclusions and hence all of their memories, and then reassemble them into almost like a swarm that's held together by a force field that then operates with a single consciousness. I don't really know. I do hope that we find out how they do that in this next volume. So in the last chapter, we see Congo wait very patiently for the precise moment that all the other gems let their guard down to put Phos back together. And he must have been meticulously gathering intelligence about where each gem had hid their pieces. Interestingly, once he assembles enough of Phos, there's a missing eye, and I'm pretty sure it's Phos's original eye that's missing, not the pearl eye that Ikmia uses to spy on Earth. And Sensei apologizes for taking so long. It's very clear that the humanness in Phos is having an effect on how loyal Sensei is to them. And then Phos asks Sensei to pray again, to have mercy on their soul. And it's a strange request in that they know Sensei is broken, that he needs external fixing and he can't really fix the problem himself. So asking again won't really do the trick. And so it's not that he doesn't want to pray, and yet Phos still asks. And I think it's because Phos is just that desperate and just that tired that all powers of logic have deserted them, and what's left is this tiredness that's hardened and then being catalyzed into rage. Speaking of the desertion of all powers of logic, I was having an interesting discussion a while back with Envy on Discord about where has this level-headed calmness of Lapis gone. And Amethyst even says something to that effect, that it's like idiot Phos returning all over again. And Envy had this interesting theory that really it might just boil down to Phos's overly strong inclusions gradually overtaking and overpowering Lapis's inclusions. Like if you could rank the energy of inclusions versus their bodies, it's very likely that Phos's inclusions were just stronger than Lapis's, which I actually could see happening. So I guess we shall find out what happens as a result of all that rage that is just driving through Phos's body at the moment. Alright guys, settle in. I think this is going to be a pretty intense read through. So here we go. Land of the Lustrous, Volume 11 by Haruko Ichikawa. Already this cover is making me very antsy because Phos is, you know, just Phos going full psycho, but against Cinnabar. Okay, so they've got their eye. The eye that's still attached to them is definitely the pearl eye. So Ikmir and all the other Lunarian scientists and whoever else is watching is getting a front row seat to everything that's happening. And interestingly, I wonder if this foreshadows that Cinnabar is going to burst in to save Sensei. For some reason, Cinnabar, you know, didn't go to sleep, and so he's actually patrolling, hopefully. I don't know. Do we want to hope that Cinnabar wants to get in the way? I don't know. Okay, anything else we can get from this cover? Nope, just Phos just completely losing it. And you can say for good reason, but also it's just been a string of tragedy after tragedy after tragedy and a couple of mistakes along the way. And just miscommunications. Story of all of our lives, eh? Okay, it's a broken piece of wood. Character introductions. Hemimorphite is relatively okay when among friends. Yeah, they're always hanging around Watermelon. Watermelon Tourmaline just wants everyone to get along. Neptunite. Oh, feelings about Benito revealed. Do they miss them? Do they miss their normality and their stability? I wonder if we're gonna get any more earth gems going to the moon side. Particularly, you know, now that the seeds have been planted, that there's this other whole story of the Lunarians and the Admirabilis and the Lustrous that they haven't really been known about for so long. Rutiel, former physician, fresh out of Give a Damn. Yeah, everyone except Rutiel is gonna be thinking about, oh, maybe, you know, it might be a possibility, but Rutiel is just gonna be like, no. They took away Padpa. You know, Phos has sided with them, and so I am going to go ham and die. I would rather die than, you know, join the Lunarians. Zircon was aware of Yellow's delicate sensibilities. Oh man, I wonder if Zircon is gonna meet Yellow in that state of theirs, and I wonder how they would respond if they, I don't know. Peridot sometimes wants to let the younger gems take care of things. It's good. Red Beryl is way too curious about lunar fashion. Okay, I'm definitely getting senses that we're gonna have more switching sides, or maybe they even become the same side. Who knows? Obsidian completed a fun collab project. So completely detached from this whole conflict that's happening. Euclase, looking for clues to help change things for the better. You know, throughout all of this, I mean, certain things that I can fault Yuke for, like that awful plan to attack first, speak later. But generally, I think they do have a heart to clear things up on both sides, even though they're being very cautious about it. And Jade just can't follow Yuke's and Kongo's conversations. Just a loyal second in command to Yuke. Morganite is showing remarkable growth. That's baby Morga. Remember last time they accidentally blurted out where they'd hidden their piece of Phos and they had to go do it again. So maybe we're going to see a bit more of them this volume, play a bit more of a key role. Amethyst is pretty much doing okay. Interesting. I was going to so there's actually 2 amethysts on here and we've done away with the 84-33 stuff. It's literally they've just carved their own space in their own world as amethyst. Just amethyst. That's good. That's a positive development. Sphene likes doing collabs. Okay, so they're the one that collabed with Obsidian. I wonder what they collabed on though. What? Still the same on the inside. Possibly the most consistent gem throughout these entire 10 volumes that we've gone through. And I suspect 11 volumes as well once we finish this one. Cinnabar is happy about a thing that happened. That is so vague and just opens up so many different possibilities. I'm 98% sure that it has to do with Bort. Maybe Bort gave them like a "you're right" sort of look, and that's the thing that changed their complete outlook on life, and now they are just living it up. That's actually kind of cute if you think about it. Okay, so those are the earth gems. On the moon side, I really like the different shadings of the two. So you've got the earth gems in the green, dark green shade, and then the lighter green or the surrounded in clouds moon gems. Phosphophylite, the hero of our story, makes a decision. I suspect a very, very bad one, given on the note that we ended on last time. Oh, Barbata is making sure to have no regrets. It's good to see them back. I feel like we might get them in action again, or they might recover and just wake up to a whole new world of Phos just did this thing. Maybe Phos even destroys Sensei. I don't know. Is this going to be the last volume that we actually see Sensei? Amethyst, again, no 84, appears to have found a new self. Totally, like Amethyst has just taken to the moon like a duck to water. You know, developed a new career for themselves, new passions, almost an entirely new personality that they never had a chance to develop out when they were stuck with 33. Yellow Diamond, always sad. The eldest, a little incomprehensible. Princess has won popularity among the Lunarians by showing a candid gem sonar. Alexandrite will show you what an 8.5 can really do. Oh, that sounds a little bit ominous. I mean, I know that they said there's no longer a need for Alex to do the whole become permanently red Alex, but now that Phos has gone and done this, maybe there's going to be a whole new conflict that breaks out after the 220-year period of peace. Goshenite, in terms of hardness 7.5, in terms of adaptability, hardness 10. The Goshen was the one that was riding along in the background at that amusement park, right? Just having the time of their life on the ride behind Princess and Ikmia in front of all those cameras. Bonitoite. Favorite signature dish is dun dun noodles, normal spiciness. Oh my god, that is so funny. Okay, so dun dun noodles, if you haven't had them, I believe they're actually a Taiwanese dish. It's like you can have it cold. It's just these thin white noodles with really yummy sauce on them. Dam dam. So in Chinese we say dam dam mean, and dam is a word you can that sounds like, mild or like. So I guess I associate the word with normality and just being very normal, and so it's so funny that Benita White actually has that as their favorite dish. Normal spiciness, okay. Diamond appears to have found an ideal self. Interesting. So Amethyst has a new self, and then Jaya has the ideal self. The two outside of Cairngorm who have really just found a home for themselves on the moon. Yeah, this is not looking good. It looks like they're all just gonna go head to head in some massive final fight, and not everyone is gonna make it out in one piece. I mean, they are used to being shattered, but maybe there's a bit more permanence in the way that they're destroyed here. I don't know. Yeah. Contents. Chapter 80. 3 races. So the Admirabilis again, because I had thought that we might be seeing Variegatus, or obviously now whoever is the king, because Variegatus would be dead by now. Like that they would be joining in on this whole conflict that's been ongoing, maybe. Souvenir. Outcome. Again, very vague. Reflection. The Eve. Birthday? Or maybe Phos's birthday, sort of like a flashback episode, not episode, chapter, to when they were born and what it was like. Maybe we get another, whenever there's a scene with Sensei and old Phos that comes up, that's just a right smack to the heart. War. As if like this is the war to end all wars, maybe? The last war? Silence. Nature experiments. Future. Land of the less aged. Okay. Alright guys, let's do this. Let me just take a sip of water first. Alright, so it looks like we're going to be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters today, I think. Okay. Chapter 80, 3 races. That's just Phos and just gone mad devil. All that gold alloy has completely just busted out any of the other parts, and it's just, that's all emotion. Emotion, rage, desperation, tiredness, everything just combusting together in this explosion of impending disaster. And Sensei is terrified. He never shows emotion, so you know that he is real shook when he's got his eyebrows just all pursed like that. I mean, you can't really blame him. This is like, Phos has become like Rutiel, but 100,000 times scarier. Look at the way that their mouth is so jagged and cracked and just menacing. And they've got Sensei's hands encircled. Probably, my god, is Phos strong enough to break Sensei? I don't think so. Just like holding that light there. Oh, so are they actually... So Sensei actually is still in the process of starting the prayer. And Phos is sort of making them keep it there. Yeah, this is back in the lovely home of Mr. and Mrs. Princess. Just sipping on some tea. Oh. Okay, so when Sensei prays, I guess because their buildings are made of... They're made from the oils of minerals. So something about buildings obviously is organic, and whenever Sensei is activated, it starts to melt away as well. The buildings first, because it doesn't look like Ikmia has started to melt away. It's happening. Phosphophylite has been put back together and Congo has resumed function. The recognition step is complete. Come. We'll go together. He's so calm. And Cairngorm, well, Princess is not really calm at all. Whomp. Is that bits off Barbata's ceiling just dropping on him? He's got a very comfy home, like a very New York loft apartment style home, it looks like. Huh? Oh, seriously? It's had a long night, you know, just waking up with a hangover. Where are they going? It's the control center. Oh, okay, right. So they do have this huge screen up with the feed of the eye. It's unstable. So even the screens and everything are sort of slowly melting away. Regardless, it's lasting a long time. This glass is appearing for this academic portion of the prayer. Phosphophylite is keeping Congo's hands in the prayer position. The machine is not resisting. Oh, okay, so even that position that he has is important to keep. Okay, that's what Phos is doing. How fortunate. Pray, damn machine. Pray for me. I hate this so much. For whatever Sensei did or didn't do wrong, I always disliked how as soon as Phos found out more about their past and the common ancestry of humans and what Sensei was created to do, just disliked how they immediately saw Sensei as other to them and not a proper gem and just a machine, a damn machine. Like almost like immediately in their eyes he was dehumanized. I'm de-gemified, whatever the term is. Yep. So that gold alloy is completely cracking away every other part of them that's mineral too. If it hadn't been for you... I wonder if this is going to go on to the point where Phos completely loses all of their original memories, the very few that they have, because of their bits just keep falling away from the outburst of the alloy. 120 minutes have elapsed. Damn, that's 2 hours. It's stabilized at the 31 to 32% line and increasing. Prepare to notify the public. Affirmative. Cairngorm just dealing with the rushing reality now that Ikmia and all the other Lunarians could just disappear in the next couple of hours. I don't think they're ready. 220 years, well, a few hundred years is not enough time to prepare for this. Oh, I love that they have a broadcast system for the whole moon. This is Ichmia. We have confirmed that Congo has begun operating. There's like a candy store, just a retail strip mall. Just kids hanging out, teenagers hanging around. Oh man, I am surprised actually that the Lunarians still want to become nothing. Given like all of the new stuff that the gems have brought and all the excitement and this sense of progress that the gems coming has given them, and look at all how they're living. It's like peak quality of life, and I'm surprised that they are still gunning for nothingness. Maybe it's just something that they've wanted for so long that they can't even conceive of not wanting it. Okay, we have confirmed that Congo has begun operating. In the event that a prayer should activate, its effect will reach the moon in 21 minutes. Was that fashion director? I forgot their name. Everyone. Oh, is that? That's yellow with the two Lunarian attendants. You must all act quickly. What is that? Oh my goodness, that's Cairngorm's hand starting to go through Ichmia because he's not even able to keep that his structure anymore because he's starting to fade away into nothing. Oh, that's sad. I actually feel right bad for Cairngorm. Ugh. I love these couple of panels with Cairngorm just looking up at Ichmia and then the hand going through his wrist. And then just that shot, don't really see what's happening in his eyes. And return to your homes. So I guess they have a procedure, like they've rehearsed what would happen when prayer does get activated. And they all have to go back to their homes and kind of just sit there and wait. That's really interesting. I guess be with your families while this happens. Okay, that's Daya. 21 minutes. Processing what's happening. That means there's time for 5 more songs. Okay, everybody. Whoa, Daya. I hope you all enjoyed this to the last moment. You're kidding me. She became a Lunarian idol? Well, I mean, look, if you only had 21 minutes left to live, you'd want to be at a Daya concert, right? With your little glow sticks. And yeah, instead of going home and just sitting in your room or in your living room, just waiting for the end, why not party it out? 5 more Daya songs. It's hard to resist. I need 1 more of your meals before I go, Lexi. All right. Oh my god, Lex. They've got their menus up. It's like it's like a really homey looking restaurant with the different Lunarian food options up the top. And the utensils hanging on the walls, nice paintings. Oh man, I love that Lex actually went on to become a chef, obviously trained by Barbata. I wonder what kind of restaurant it is. Maybe it's like a pasta specialty restaurant. Even got some Lunarian employees at the back with Benito helping out. Still with that blindfold. They're so cool now. Oh man. It's too bad I won't have you to check my work when I've finished. Oh, Amethyst and Barbata. Yeah. Did you like studying on the moon? Yes, very much. These two. You're not going home, Sensei. Whoa, the mental dislocation that happened when I read Sensei, that's referring to Barbata. It's not like anyone's there waiting for me. 1 minute, eh? You want something to eat? I like your Neapolitan, Sensei. That sounds good. Help me make some. Yes, Sensei. Oh, I love their relationship with each other. So obviously he lives alone and he is home, like in his lab and his cooking. Obviously he's got some kind of kitchen set up in his science lab. It'll be all right. So it seems like the only gem that's genuinely not happy that this is happening is Cairngorm. The rest seem to understand that this would have happened sooner or later, and so they're just making the most out of it. Especially Lex is making a buck off those patrons of hers. All right, how? Your idea was half right. What idea? You said if you stuck to me like glue, you could come with me, remember? Huh? More accurately, Congo is broken. The machine cannot control its power. As such, once a prayer is said, oh god, look at all that aloe dripping on Sensei's face. Every being of human descent will go to nothingness. Eh? Oh shit. Lunarians, Lustrous, Admirabilis. All three races without exception, all at once. That is why Congo so adamantly refuses to pray. Adamantly. And at the same time, the machine's attachment to the gems has created something almost resembling a sense of self. Ikmia, you could have told us this like how long ago that everyone will go into nothingness? So, as he was witnessing all of these conversations that the gems were having about becoming Lunarians, or like, you know, Cairngorm's desire to go into nothingness with him, he knew that it was going to happen anyway, and he still didn't tell them. This is crazy. That is the source of the malfunction. So he loves his kids too much. And that's why he can't pray or won't pray. Kendall can't even stand upright. You stupid jerk. Ha ha ha. Don't you ha 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 me, blockhead. Okay, I'd be pissed too, man. Like, how many years did you keep that to yourself? Like, just all this stress over wanting to go into nothingness with him, and then at the end, it's like, oh, by the way, you know, you didn't have to stress at all. All those years you spent worrying about, you know, becoming Lunarian enough to follow me, well, it was going to happen anyway. That is so messed up, man. You mineral life forms are pure and kind in everything you do and are. You are the most beautiful creatures in this world. You managed to give a machine an impossible dream of creating a paradise for the lustrous. Even as someone who committed atrocity after atrocity to help my people, there you go, there's that crimes against humanity confession. I can understand why Congo went haywire. If only Phos knew. Man, it all boils down to love, doesn't it? Isn't this it? Isn't that the message? Like, Love is the most important thing, and love for someone else other than yourself can create something so beautiful and pure in even a machine that's wasn't even meant to be capable of genuine love, and thus a genuine sense of self, and also a sense of self-sacrifice too. Everybody went home. That's no fun. Who is this? Is this Dial? Who is that? Is that some random Lunarian teenager? Oh my god, this is Goshen. Okay, end of chapter 80. Chapter 81, Souvenir. The streets are all so quiet. Oh my god, Goshen just going full like teen outbreak mode with this skateboard, running wild on the streets. The town belongs to me. The hoodie and just those track pants. Are those like Converse? Yeah, they look like the Lunarian version of Converse shoes. Was that always there? Oh god. The youngest gem meets the oldest. Papa's just been here the whole time. Don't play with. Oh god. What do they do? They're just plugging up Papa. Hey, Papa. So this is where you've been hanging out. The Lunarians are going off to Nothing Land. Then Phos succeeded. Oh, wow. So Papa could be woken up at any time, but I guess not for long? I guess so. Good. Phew. What is that? What is Phos doing to Sensei? God. Is even he disappearing, or is that Phos's bits disappearing? Hey, tell me everything you've been hiding from me. What a thing to ask. I mean, how long do we have? Do we have a millennia to do this? There may not be enough time for everything. Where should I begin? Where? From that since before you came to the moon bit, of course. Oh, that. Well, oh, are we gonna get the story of the unrequited love for this arm? Phos. Zip. Oh my god, Phos. They're just. Oh, they've smashed the floor. They've become that horrific, like, centipede thing that they always take the shape of when they're super under stress and emotional. And I think they're about to murder Sensei. Oh, oh no. You... Phos? Oh shit. Phos, is that you? I don't think it is anymore. I honestly do not think that's Phos anymore. Their alloy has acted up so much over such a long period of time that there has got to be just almost barely nothing left of Phos's parts anymore. And this is Yuke, who's like, I trusted you. I wanted to talk to you. Thank God. Yep, there we go. But in a very different winter hibernation uniform. It's bought with their snappy whip. Yeah. Okay, it's gone. Yep. Third failed attempt. Phos is just... I wonder, I mean, is Phos any match for Bort? Really? And there's Jade again. Oh, Jade is always the one that's just planting themselves firmly in front of Sensei whenever anything threatens his body. Just really sweet. But also Phos just crack. Okay, is that it? Did they break Phos again into all different pieces? So, what do you want for lunch? Sigh. Hamburger steak. Pet, pet. The... I mean, okay, so it makes more sense now why Ikmir would keep working towards this goal of becoming nothing, because he kind of knew that he wouldn't be leaving Cairngorm behind, which is probably the one thing that he's most worried about. But also, he's not overly, you know, angry that this is yet again another time that's failed, because he does have Cairngorm there to pass the time with and all the other gems. So, and hamburger steaks, like, come on. This is Ikmir. We have confirmed that Congo has ceased operation. I guess it didn't work. What is Goshen wearing? Oh man, it's so, like, I don't know. It's such just a sort of zoomer outfit. Goshen, will you help me up? I can't sit up by myself. Yikes, it's been ages since I touched another gemstone. This is scary. Yeah, interesting that Goshen kind of just ran wild and just broke away from the moon gem unit, just running rampant, as you know, teens tend to do. Can I ask you one more favor? There! Oh god, Phos is... I hate... Ishikawa is amazing for drawing Phos like that. Like, you don't even need any words to understand how messed up they are internally, mentally. Right into the ocean. There's Nepti. Cook. Oh my god, are they just slashing pieces of Phos and just chopping them and dumping them into the ocean into pieces? Phos went east. That's fiend. Oh no. Huff, huff. Find anything over there? Not yet. Oh, they're climbing to Cinnabar's old hideout? Surely they must not live there anymore since they became part of Gem Society. Don't tell me that that shredded piece of thing is the encyclopedia, the empty encyclopedia that Phos left behind and then Cinnabar picked up. Oh, I can't do this. Right? That clipboard thing with Cinnabar's handprint on it when they grabbed it and Phos tried to save them. No. They're just, oh my god, look at that. So I guess they've calmed down here. Like the alloy has sort of withdrawn back into itself, and you can see the bits of the other minerals there. Yeah, it's just sort of being retracted. Yeah, you poor thing. Who is that? Is that Rutil? Oh my god, Rutil, do not do that. That is so freaking scary. Tap. I'll turn you into powder and pour you into the ocean. We won't tell anyone. It's easier that way, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh my god, this is giving me, like, I think way back in volume 1 when Rutil was explaining to Phos how the inclusions work and how even if you are ground into powder and scattered all around the ocean, you could probably still be put back together. It would just take an infinite long amount of time and the probability wouldn't be very high. Oh, this volume is just seriously going full speed on the memories of what used to be happier days. Retealman. Oh man, they're actually gonna show up. Obviously, I guess Ichneus still wants Phos in one piece. uh, Retail. Padpa with that. What is that weapon? It's also a whip, but it looks like a tasseled whip. Oh my god. The emotional turmoil right now is just off the charts. Duck. Here. A souvenir. It should help you figure some things out. Wait a sec. They chucked a piece of synthetic material to retail. Obviously, all that material that's holding Piper together is Lunarian made. Is this like a big boss move by Padpa? Like, be like, hey, all you ever really wanted was to figure out how to do this, like how to make me work. Here's all of the answers you ever wanted your whole entire life. Now just back off and calm down. Is that what they're going for? Synthesized corundum, is that it? Oh, there's Goshen. Okay, so this is what they wanted Goshen to help them with. And they're just gonna be, I guess Padpa just fully sacrifice themselves for Phos. No regrets, right? Like, this closes that circle of Rutil making Padpa the life's purpose. And now Padpa is giving it back to Rutil. And I guess for them, this is where they can rest. It's the end of chapter 81. Chapter 82, Outcome. That's Cicada? Yeah. Look at those arms, man. And oh, Goshen, they're so young. This is possibly their first real battle experience. And Ikmi and Cairngorm just monitoring everything. Is that That's a plate of pasta or spaghetti that Cairngorm's digging into. It looks really good. Are you okay with all of this? Yes, it's better this way. I'm feeding him. Okay with all of what? Like, okay with what just happened with Padpa? Or the fact that Sensei hasn't been able to pray for them yet? This was the natural outcome. Explain! Yank. Oh, what a shame. Nice try, Prince. We'll take over here. I promise I will when we're done cleaning this up. This cabbage roll is delicious. Tell me everything, got it? Yes, I know. There's so much that he's still holding back from everyone, including Cairngorm. Yes, I don't really know the natural outcome. It's gotta be Padpa, right? Ugh. Oh, okay, they got Phos back. Did they take Padpa as well? I don't see them. Was it sort of like an exchange with Rutiel? Like, we'll leave Padpa with you and we'll get Phos? Maybe that's the natural outcome they were talking about. How in the world did you end up like this? Senior Phos, can you move? Clack, clack. Oh, nope. Noble Goshen, it's so good to see you. Okay, you can talk now. I haven't seen you since the prince's wedding. How have you been? What have you been up to? Well... Here we go, here's the story. The story that's going to change how the entire direction of events is going to happen. This place is sort of fancy. Oh, the skateboard shop. Oh no, it's basically, it looks like maybe it was a building where delinquents hung out. That's so funny. I went into a building that looked kind of cool. What? Who? A gemstone? I made friends with the Lunarians inside and started living with them. That's me. Awesome. I've never talked to one before. What's up? Your social skills are so good, they're almost scary. Yo, so they basically joined a commune, a skateboarding commune, and has just been partying hard the whole time. So were you with them when the prayer booted up? Yeah, but I don't like that depressing stuff. That's very you, Honourable Goshen, I guess. Oh. Here's the hardness of 10 in terms of adaptability. It's amazing. I hope they probably smoked a few things. Some Lunarian, treats. We're back already? Yes. I know we had to rescue Great Phos, but we took the ship without permission and left the venerable Barbata on Earth. Oh, what will Prince Ichmius say? Yo, Cicada, help us out here. What do you think Prince Ichmiel will say? I don't know. Okay, this is Padpa's idea. And Cicada went along, obviously, because they love Phos so much. Here we go. Damn, all the gems there. Phos erect, man. Look at how massive Cicada is. He's being so careful though. I love him. Ikmia doesn't look angry. You were so close. Well, of course he wouldn't be surprised that this is what happened, but because of the eye. The gems look horrified though at their state. I believe you asked us to throw you away after collecting you. Is that still what you want? Congo rescued me. Congo still loves me. Oh, is it love? I mean, it is love, but also isn't it just because you've now become human enough to activate him and so he's obligated to obey you? But still, we can think whatever helps you feel better. If those gems hadn't stopped us, Congo would have prayed. I know it. Congo will pray for me. No, Ikea is like, oh dude, no, that's not quite what happened. Because, okay, let's think about it. If Yuke and the others hadn't woken up, yeah, maybe Sensei eventually would have finished, like, you know, gone to the 100% of the prayer process. But I don't know, it feels like he didn't really have a say in that. It's only because he was bowing to the overpowering will of Phos. It's not like he was praying for them. Because he doesn't want to pray for them, because then he knows that they'll all disappear. Next time. Oh man. They're just shooting themselves out everywhere. If any gems get in my way, I will grind them into powder. Ew. Oh, that looks like freaking like a... What's that? I forgot that huge spider from Lord of the Rings. They're literally taken on the shape of a spider with a big butt and all the legs and all the spindly legs. Ugh. This is like body horror at its finest. I'll go right away. Those damn Lustrous, if I could just be rid of them. Ikmiya is not liking where this is going, and he's like, whoa, okay, I have to recalculate and see how I'm gonna contain this psycho, because it feels like back here, they're not just threatening the gems on the earth, but it's everyone. It's anyone who stands in my way will be ground into powder. And I mean, Phos can't do that to the Lunarians, but they can most certainly do that to the moon gems who are still there and who still haven't yet turned into Lunarians. Splutch. Eh? Did they just shake on it? Very well. Ha 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 ha. Oh, they've turned into this evil villain type. Just whose brain has been completely broken, and so all they have left is this one thing to make Sensei pray at all costs. Cairngorm's scared. Clink. Gasp. Ah. Grrr. Whoa, okay, Lunarian dog. So escaped from Cairngorm's, like, necklace? Oh god, Phos is gonna devour it. Arf. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. So this little dog just transformed into Shiro. and totally smashed Phos. It's so big and bumpy. Humph. You. It is you, isn't it? It is also your bodyguard. Oh man. Okay, so they somehow, this is like Shiro, and normally he can take that tiny form, but when threatened, when he's trained to turn back into this massive monster at any sign of threats to Cairngorm. Okay. Barbata, I'd like you to repair Phosphophylite. Okay, but it's gonna take a while. Of course, be sure to use the utmost care. In particular, treat the memories of the last 200 years as gently as possible. What does that mean? That sounds so euphemistic. Almost as if he's saying, what, make sure that they don't forget what happened in the last 200 years. Oh, no. I think, well, he wants to retain all of that intelligence that they gathered on Earth, right? Well, not that Phos was really doing much. They were kind of split off everywhere on Earth. I don't know. Okay, end of chapter 82. Chapter 83, Reflection. Okay. It's in bits and pieces, but Rutiel told us the story. The Lunarians did show up. They used Barbata as a decoy so they could take Phos back to the moon. Just like you suspected. I see. And how is Barbata? Well, Red, Obs, and I filled in all the smaller holes, but we can't get the most important part. Rutiel won't give it up. Okay, at least they're kind of powdering up their body, which means they're a little bit better. They're not so like let go of everything, because I'm absolutely devastated that I lost my entire life's purpose. Why won't you give it up, Rutiel? Do they not want to see how amazing Lunarian synthetic material is, and how they've bested Rutiel even after so long of them trying so hard? I see. Congo, am I right in assuming you can't disobey Phos? I'm sorry. So even broken up in pieces and locked away, Phos can still order Congo around? So scary, yikes. I don't think that's quite right though. Yeah, surely they can't do that all broken up into so many pieces. Right? You can't disobey Phos, but you can't pray even if it's Phos asking you to do it. Correct. There's something critically wrong with me. It's the I love you guys so much that he can't even tell them that either, because obviously he's prevented from doing so. But yeah, Ikmi basically said it's because he doesn't want gems to disappear. Oh dear, that does make things difficult. I'm sorry. There's something critically wrong with him. But I mean, if one day he worked through it all and was like, maybe it's just better if I do send everyone to nothingness, he could pray technically, right? Or maybe not. It's okay. For now, let's just be happy that our sleepyhead is back. Yeek, are we gonna go back to hibernation or what? I think I'm sleepy. I'm staying up. I can't sleep with all this stuff going on. Then Jade and I will do odd jobs like clearing the snow around the school. Yeek. It's all back to business with Yeek. I don't suppose some gem would be so kind as to break up the ice floes. Oh man. Think about all of the gems who used to have that job. Antark, Phos for a while, Cairngorm, and now just look at where they all are. Zircon. Yellow. I wonder how our elder's doing. Yeah. I did see Yellow with them once. And 80? I'm sure 80 is fine. You can tell? Yeah, kinda. Oh, that they're still connected. Unless this is just like, I don't know, twin instinct. Or there is an actual still a physical connection between 84 and 33, even with the distance of time and of space. Are you worried about Benito? Nope. Oh, we get the tea on what's going on between those two. But you don't hate your old partner, do you? No, I like my old partner. I mean, not making any sense is part of Neb's charm. How do you think Goshen is doing, Morga? I bet Goshen's making the most of everything. Correct. I really appreciate this conversation around how they feel about their partners who have left for the moon. And it seems there's no real strong sense of hatred and betrayal as it is for like Bort and maybe Rutil, but maybe not anymore. It's more like, oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure, well, yeah, they left, but I'm sure they're doing fine now or doing whatever it is that they normally do. That's actually really nice. Hey, you're Dyer's age, right, Cinnabar? How do you think our idol is our idol? Literally being an idol. I think Dyer's doing better than any gem could imagine. Mm-hmm. I can see that. Yep. Man, just reminiscing about the good old days, yeah. All their mates that have just gone, and I really am hoping for a reunion that is more peaceful than what we've had so far. Honestly, I even forgot that I liked that gem. It's no wonder you'd forget. We've had peace for so long. I wonder which way is better. Morga just spit in those facts. Yeah. Actually, that's a great question. Like, you haven't fought for so long, you kind of forget, whether you like them or don't like them, and it doesn't really matter after such a long time. Okay, now that we're all here, let's go. Time to break up some ice floes. Oh man, they're all doing it. Okay. Hey, he is helping by doing that thing he normally does with the Lunarians. Oh. Oh. Aha, there you are. It's got Phos's eye. Oh man, I do not have a good feeling about that. I don't know, there's obviously some connection he still feels to Phos. Connie, it's really hard just getting through all this. Cinema, we don't want you getting bored just watching Connie. So cheer us on, okay? What? Cheer you on? Uh-huh. More gem socializing for Cinnabar. Excellent. Cheer so loud we can hear you over the ice floes. Come on, you can do it. Oh, you can do it. Yay. Oh man. I love this so much. Even now in volume 11, we get to get these just nice family like moments with the gems that is very, you know, life goes on sometimes, you know, even amidst all the crazy wars and fights and gem breakups and all that. This stuff matters too. I'm glad to see that you're happy. I wish Antark were here. Oh, don't say that name. Antark loved you more than any gem, and I'm sure that wouldn't change, even now that you're not our sensei. And Tachikite knew that I was a different life form than the rest of you, but they didn't care. See, that is what I feel Phos should have learned from Antark. Really? How? I don't know. The temperature is steadily rising. Global warming? Climate change? How did Antark know that Sensei was, like, adamant? Like, not the... I guess I don't remember. Was he synthetically made? Like, yeah, synthesized adamantium, right? Even though technically that's how, like, it's made anyway, naturally, isn't it? Like, from the meteor that crashes into the earth, that intense pressure. But yep, somehow Antark knew, and they were still so protective of Sensei and cherished so much their relationship and didn't mind that he was just a machine, unlike Phos. What is he gonna do with that eye? Okay. Oh man, this is Phos dreaming. You're weak. You were born that way. You were wrong from the start. There's nothing you can do. You can't ever change. You ruined everything. Oh my gosh, that's Ghost. 3.5. That's Morga. Poor thing. No one loves you. Was this Barbata going through Phos's memories? If only you'd never existed. These are not memories though, these are more Phos's insecurities taking on the form of almost delusions. Like I'm sure no one ever said these things, except maybe Bort. But yeah, and Morga. Antark definitely, like, oh man, it's all these, it's like selective feelings that then get turned into actual things that seem like memories, but they didn't actually happen. Consciousness has been restored. Oh, yeah, hold on, don't move just yet. Your physical composition is pretty complex. We're being very particular about synthesizing gemstones to fill in the missing pieces. It's still going to take time. Yipe. Oh no. Oh no. Phos is just bisected Barbata. This is gonna end real bad. It's like, I think a while back I was saying how it's what is more likely going to happen is that Phos is going to go on a rampage, and it doesn't matter gems, moon gems or earth gems, Lunarians, whoever, they're just going to destroy as long as they can get Sensei to pray for them so that they can just finally rest in peace. Oh man. Okay. Chapter 84, last one for today, The Eve. Excuse me. Who are those other Lunarians? It looked like very important political figures, maybe. We were repairing... Well, they managed to get to the other building. I don't think the Lunarians can really do anything against Phos, right? Come in. Wakemia doesn't seem bothered at all. Doing the slithery slime thing. Yeah, so whenever they completely lose their form, their physical form, and because the gold alloy is just going ballistic, you know that they are in a state of mind that is just really hard to come back from and hard to reason with too. This is the version of Phos that has no reason, has no powers of logic. Now, I want to crush them now. Every last gem. Give me your whole army. We haven't finished repairing you. Past experience shows we will be attacked by Congo when we go to Earth, so there's a limit to the amount of assistance I can provide. If you are not in perfect health, you cannot achieve the results you hope for. I'll bring the moon gems with me. I'll make them help. What? You're still talking about that? You never change. Oh my god. I know. Whoa, that was like Phos way back, but now just like channeled through this even crazier version of egotistic, disturbed Phos. There's shit on the bodyguard. Oh, look at Ikmia just like protecting Princess. What can he do though? Like, all he can, like Phos would just slice at him and he can reappear again, but he can't actually physically protect Princess, can he? Except through the dog. Would you like to ask the other gems? He's not worried at all. I'm not going. Sorry, Phos. I have a rehearsal for my concert tomorrow and then 3 days of performing after that. When that's over, my schedule is still packed with events. I have so many dear fans who have accepted me. They're waiting for me. I can't let them down. Then I'll bring Bort here. And everything that makes you happy will disappear. Oh shit. Oh my god, Phos. I see. Whoa, man. Like, talk about go right for the red trigger. Man. It's just unbridled. Not hate. It's hate. Unbridled hate and also desperation. Yeah. I don't know if anything can bring Phos back from this. It's stupid of me to hold on to my fear of that gem forever. It's about time I put an end to it. Oh, Dia, no. Okay, I'll do it. I'll be the one to turn that little nuisance into powder. Ha ha ha. Oh my god, when did that... You know, because with Dia and Bort, it was always like a love-hate relationship, right? There was like a lot of pent-up questioning of their own worth because of this other diamond that existed. But I guess now that they've been separated for so long and that Dia has all this going for her and the moon, they don't want anything to risk that, and so all of that, any love that was there for Bort has just hardened into hate. That is awful. I hate that. And Phos with the evil villainy laughter. That's silly. It's much easier to close your eyes to the past. Close your eyes to the past. Yeah, literally. Yeah, I am with Lex on this. I've learned that not all Lunarians are bad. I can't hate them anymore. Oh, is this the cook? What? You're interested in cooking a gemstone? How funny. You want to use my kitchen for a practical application of the theory? You're such a nerd. Okay. Oh, that is so sweet. Honestly, Lex's character growth has been the best. I think out of all the gems, they are probably in the happiest place relatively. I've forgotten all about Chrysoberyl. I like my life now. But okay, so I mean, screw Chrysoberyl, like don't need those ground up gems anymore. I did tell you 200 years ago that I would go with you, and that's been nagging at me. I will keep my promise. Man, I don't know. I mean, Lex, are you serious? You're going too, Benito. Who said that? Lex? Okay, so does Benito have no choice? They're the new Cairngorm? I'm sorry, Phos, but I really am staying. I can bring 30 to the moon. Huh? Being apart hasn't caused any problems. I think of that as growth. Oh, 30. Okay, yeah. I'm sure 30 will feel the same way. Twin crystals can tell these things. It's so fascinating that even apart, the two amethysts can sort of sense that they've made peace with each other and with how they've each developed separately. And Phos just still trying to just so awfully manipulative and just using their partners, as bargaining chips or blackmail or whatever. Besides, we're still working on a way to restore the gems that have been turned to sand. I want to learn as much as I can about lunar technology before Congo prays and the Lunarians turn to nothing and leave us all here. Cairngorm still thinking it. Actually, Cairngorm knows now that they all disappear, don't they? He's like, don't say anything. Wait, you don't need to rebuild the gems from sand. What? Oh, Phos. They're like, whatever, I just want to disappear myself. Why are we even like thinking about the other gems? What? How can you say that? Yeah, we don't need them. Well then. Diamond and Alexandrite will accompany Phosphorite, is that correct? Excuse me, Benito I will be going as well. Huh? I don't want to go. Oh, and your right eye, Congo has it. We can make you a new one. What would you prefer? How do they know that Congo has it? Wait, so the right eye was actually the pearl eye? Hmm. God. I'll go to Earth and take it back. I wonder if their voice changed too. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just imagining in my head that they have like Bane's voice or something. Understood. Then I will do as you wish and prepare the entire army. Oh man, this is actually happening. By studying the damage Paparacha sustained previously, we were able to work out a way to protect against Mercury. Oh, Mercury is cinema proof. So at least get a surface treatment before you go. It won't close. What won't close? Ew, they're fitting new clothes. Ew, hey, no one told me that aloe was going to be jumping out of your back at me. They cannot control their emotions. Hurry. I know, I'm working on it. Somebody help me. Bring them some giant scissors. I want it done now. I said I know. Now. I must destroy. Eh? I must destroy everything on Earth now. What? Oh my gosh, look at how many transports, their full entire army out in force. Wait, do the other gems know that this is a mission of total destruction and not just getting Sensei to pray? I mean, I don't know if they know what they're getting into with Phos. Oh man. Look at, that thing that's just coming out of Phos's neck and going up, like all the way up. I wonder what that is or means. I don't know. Anyone has any ideas about, yeah, and the spikes from protruding from their back? Yeah, they don't look happy that they have to leave this perfect world that they've, built a life for themselves in. And Benito, I mean, poor Benito, just getting dragged along into it by the legs. End of chapter 84. Man, that was an intense ride. Oh man, where to start with these chapters? So megalomaniac Phos has come out to play, and I think they are here to stay for quite a while. They have been smashed to pieces by both the Earth Gems and also Princess's bodyguard Shiro, or recreation of Shiro. And I'm really sensing that they are increasingly becoming a force unto their own who has no loyalties to either side. Remember, Phos had felt that themselves before when they were agonizing over that initial failed attack, that worrying that the Lustrous see them as a Lunarian and vice versa, the Lunarians see them as a Lustrous, and so they don't really have a place anymore. And of course, many factors have contributed to that, primary of which is Phos's obsession with making Sensei pray, so that they can just make it all stop, especially their own suffering and, all of that anger at Sensei for not praying as he should, or even before that, for keeping all of these secrets from them, even though he didn't really have a choice. All of that rage and anger and obsession has now just developed into a full-blown hatred for the gems and really anyone in the future who would stop them from making Sensei pray. On top of using or forcing Sensei to pray at all costs, you now have Phos hellbent on like crushing the gems who attacked them to stop it. And I get the sense that the moon gems and Lunarians who are ostensibly on Phos's side also won't escape Phos's wrath either, if for whatever reason they get in the way of Phos's thirst for destruction. And you sort of see little hints of that, even though it has no effect on them. But the way that Phos sliced Barbata open, and then the attendants, and just barged in on Ichmia's meeting. And yeah, so Ichmia definitely sees all of that unfolding as well. He's still playing along with Phos because their goals are still aligned. Like, it suits him to continue using Phos's power to attack the Earth Gems in order to get at Sensei to then activate him for prayer. But he is already calculating what to do with Phos in case Phos goes the full kamikaze route, if they haven't already. Barbata and Rutil, I think what happened was just the classiest way for Padpa to end that eternal dancing around each other. Padpa knew the very thing that would get Rutil to stop and reflect on exactly what the heck they're doing. It's almost like Padpa dropped in, like with the help of Goshen and Cicada, and was like, was it worth it, Rutil? Was it really? And I haven't fully decoded in depth the message that Padma wanted to deliver to Rutil, and I'd be really curious to see what you guys think. But I think it was them recognizing that the reason why Rutil completely broke down mentally is because Padpa, the project, not so much the person, was taken away from them by force. And in returning to Rutil by throwing a piece of themselves at Rutil and being like, here, this should give you something to think about, and then just immediately passing out again, Padma feels like they were indirectly calling Rutil out for that, confronting them with the awfulness of how they'd just seen Padma as their own work and not really caring about them as a person and about whether they were actually living the life that they wanted and had actually found on the moon. Yeah, that's my initial thoughts for now, and I'll have to go back and dissect that scene panel by panel. But yeah, it was definitely a power move by Padpa. The other scenes I really enjoyed about these chapters were whenever some of the Earth Gems would talk about their moon partners and vice versa. I mentioned it before, but amongst most of the gems, there's a surprising lack of enmity or resentment about the divide that separates them. Amethyst and Amethyst, like the classic example of feeling that the other is okay and doing just fine, even though they've been separated by so much time and space. In fact, I mean, I think they know that each other is doing better than okay and recognize that the separation probably worked out in their favor, even though it was really hard to deal with at the start. In terms of allowing them to develop their own senses of self. Similar with gems like Nepti and Benito White, Morgan Goshen and Zircon wondering about Yellow, and even like Cinnabar talking about Daya. Like Nepti in particular, who confused all the other gems by saying, no, I don't miss Benito, but I still really like the gem. And I really appreciate that, at least among some of the gems, they still retain the good memories of each other. It's because they went through a lot of crap with each other, right? Like they did everything together. There was only about 27 or 28 of them together for so many hundreds of years. And those things aren't easily erased. I mean, for God's sake, they played like card games at night with each other and just got into pillow fights and all of that stuff. So all of that, it doesn't go away easily unless you're like Phos and your inclusions have had to adapt to a body that's been rapidly replaced with a gazillion different materials with very few original memories left. Interestingly, it's Daya and Alex on the moon who don't really give off any semblance of affection for the Earth Gems or their former partners. Understandably so, because things have changed so much for them on the moon and for the better. Phos played the bought card on Daya, and I was a little bit surprised, but maybe I really shouldn't have been, at how any affection that Daya harbored for Bort has completely evaporated. And all they really want to do now is to join Phos in grounding Bort to dust. Like, Daya's got a rep to protect, like an idol rep to protect, and just the mere thought of having to exist in a world where Bort is a thing and go back to that state of not really feeling like they were a real diamond was enough to push Daya to join Phos on this last war mission. I couldn't, like when I was reading through that, I couldn't stop thinking about when Daya was battling Shiro and they won temporarily by slicing him open with their diamond arm. And then afterwards, that moment they had with Bort when they basically tell each other that they love each other, despite how difficult it is for Daya having to compare themselves all the time to Bort, the realist of diamonds. All of that has gone down the toilet drain. And actually, I am so looking forward to seeing how it'll go down on Earth, because maybe Daya is just talking on big right now, but things might change when they actually come face to face with Bort especially when they see that hair. Like that hairstyle is probably going to stop die in their tracks. With Lex, they don't have a former partner on Earth, but they say that they have completely forgotten about Chrysoberyl, which, when we consider where they started, being so obsessed with researching Lunarians just so that they could keep their hatred for them fresh, that is such a huge monumental shift. It's so obvious that life on the moon, developing their chef skills, having a thriving restaurant business, which I thought was so wholesome, and I'm so happy for them that they actually have that going for them. All of that has again really switched around Lex's whole approach to life. I found it fascinating that the apparent reason they agreed to go with Phos is because of a promise that they made 200 years ago. And I don't know how I feel about that, because back then, even Phos was like, well, Alex, I don't think it's a good idea that you turn yourself into permanent red Alex just so you can fight better. I mean, of course, the Phos now, the Phos with the evil villainy laugh won't care anymore, but it's so odd to me that that would be Alex's reason. I would have thought they'd be more like Amethyst and say, well, I got hungry customers to feed. I want to learn more about cooking from Barbata while I still can. And I don't know. Maybe there's just something more to it that I'm not picking up on yet. And of course, poor Benito, because I think they're going the route of, okay, permanent red Alex now. And so Benito has to be the one who restrains Alex. I no good feelings about that, and I just wish Alex would just stay in her little restaurant, interact more with their employees. I'd love that Alex acknowledged that they don't really hate the Lunarians anymore because of the interactions that they've had with normal everyday Lunarians. Just such a great message and reminder that in the face of shared commonality, a lot of old hatreds and this us versus them mentality can just melt away, and it all really doesn't matter as long as you can see the person. I was going to say see the humanity in the other person, but in this case, it's not really the case. Basically, just see that who you thought was an enemy is actually very normal and actually shares a lot of your interests. And yeah, I just love that about Alex's development. Finally, Sensei, we confirmed again that while he must obey Phos, he can't actually pray even if they ask him to. I found the interactions between Sensei and Phos pretty ironic, because remember all that talk about the armor of love and how the gems were under Sensei's influence all this time, and so didn't really have a choice but to love him and to treat him with great respect. Phos's humanness essentially is the equivalent of the armor of love, except in reverse. Like, Sensei has no choice but to love Phos, except to me, it's much clearer that Phos's effect on Sensei is definitely due to the original programming responding to a human presence, whereas I feel Sensei genuinely developed love for his gem kids, as explained by Ikmia of all people. Sensei's love for the gems is why he is malfunctioning and actually going against the original programming. And by the way, that massive new piece of information that we got, the fact that all descendants of the humans, the Admirabilis, the Lustrous, and the Lunarians, will all go into nothing once Sensei successfully says a prayer. I am with Cairngorm on this. Like, how could Ikmia have kept this crucial bit of information to himself? Although, I mean, when I think about it, I do get it. I feel he had to play this very close to his chest because he knows that this changes the equation for a lot of the Lustrous. Say they find out that they too would disappear if Sensei prays, they might not want him to pray. And so, their goals would become unaligned. you know, a lot of the gems have got pretty sweet lives, both on the moon and on Earth, and Ikmia might accidentally reunite them if he ever lets slip that they're all going to disappear as well. I mean, think about Daya and the idea that they can never again hold an idol concert, like the horror. Having said that, now that I'm thinking about it a bit more, I know the gems are still looking for ways to become Lunarian. I'm just not sure if they've thought through all of the consequences yet. Like, are they also prepared to disappear along with the Lunarians when Sensei prays? Or I thought it was more they just wanted to gain the benefits of becoming a disembodied soul without a body to have to carry around, and assume that because they started out as lustrous that the praying and dissolving to nothingness won't apply to them. We may or may not find out next time. Yeah, I guess that is it for today's reading. Thank you for joining me. We are drawing ever closer to the big one, like the war to end all wars, maybe. And again, it's just unbelievable how far along we are in this story and how many tables have turned and turns have tabled. So until next time, take care. And as always, I will meet you guys in the comments.